I'm very pleased to host this webinar this morning to talk about a new campaign that's been rolled out with involvement from Sheffield Chamber, a number of other business groups, but really initiated by some excellent work at Sheffield City Council. Before we get into the kind of main proceedings, Sam's asked me to provide a few little reminders around housekeeping. Firstly, if everybody's comfortable, we're going to record this call and it will be hosted on YouTube afterwards. If anybody's got any problems about that, then please do let us know. But we want to make sure that people who can't dial in during a particular time can still benefit from hearing the conversation. In addition to that, what Sam's going to do is, during Mark's presentation and introduction to what we've been working on, he will mute everybody just so we try and preclude background noise. If after the presentation you want to ask any questions, then please do use the chat function to draw attention. Wave your hands manically in the air, or just use one of the reaction symbols, and I'll try and get to you in particular order. So hopefully, and that's all of the things that I was supposed to say, Sam, in terms of housekeeping. Just to set the scene, we're all living through some exceptional times, and one of the things that was fairly evident is mid-March, we went from living relatively normal lives to locking down very quickly. It was very much a zero-sum situation. 1 minute everything was open, the next minute everything was closed. And now we're going through a far more complex process of opening up our economy. And through discussions and insight, it's recognized that people are approaching that in different ways. Some businesses are able to open up, some are still not. At an individual level and as a company level, different outlets want to make different decisions. And so what Mark Mobbs is here to do today from Marketing Sheffield is share with you a campaign that's been formulated, that has been designed for businesses to use across the city to support them in opening up in a way that they feel comfortable with and that their customers feel comfortable with. And it's very much in line with the overall city brand that's been evolving over the last 18 months. What I'm going to do is hand over to Mark in a minute, and he'll talk you through the campaign, and then hopefully that could initiate a conversation around two things. One is how you think the campaign can manifest itself, how we can use it in the city to support local businesses and to support local companies, and also perhaps trigger some more practical suggestions about how you can take this campaign and use it in your particular organization. It will be an informal session. We're all in this together. Sheffield Chamber is really clear that we've got to help, and we will be helping businesses along the way. So if you've got suggestions or thoughts on how this could be improved, we're all ears. So that's my opening introduction. I will now mute myself, which for those of you who know me will come as good news, and I'll hand you over to Mark.
Thanks. I'm just checking I wasn't muted. Hi everybody. It's really hard to look at faces and to work out who I know when they're all so small, but I'm sure some of you all know me already. Yeah, thanks Alexis for the intro, and thanks for saying informal, because that's certainly how it feels to me, having not really put anything specific together in terms of presentation, but I have got a few slides that I will share with you, and I think I was then hoping that we'd really just do this as a bit of a really just a chat through and get some thoughts and some suggestions and anything else. So I guess probably best, given how these things work, to just let me run through the slides, note down any questions you've got, and then obviously I can flick back to anything as needs be. So I'll give you a bit of sort of, I guess, probably more for interest's sake, background on this. So for those that don't know, my job is marketing manager for city campaigns. I therefore, my main sort of focus of my role is outside of the city. It's about positioning and reputation stuff for the city to attract inward investment, talent, and kind of tourism, business or leisure as well. So there's a couple of colleagues in my team that work specifically on the tourism side of things and the kind of events and conferencing side of things. But my role was the first time that we'd had a kind of central responsibility for, I guess, Sheffield's brand and how it's communicated. So I've been kind of beavering away at that, and I've got to know people like Alexis through working on things like MIPIM and other sort of stuff with the universities around reputation and campaigns like that. But then when the pandemic hit, after about 3 weeks of complete inactivity, it became quite clear to councils and local authorities around the world, really, that actually to have anything to say externally outside the city, you've got to have something inside the city that's happening. So I was asked fairly quickly to have a look at, right, how can we come up with a campaign that can help really boost the economy of Sheffield and help people get back confidently into some form of normal life once this all starts easing. So it really is all about the businesses, and that's why I'm thankful to Sam and Tom and the rest of the guys and gals at the Chamber for letting me come and talk to you guys, because it's really critical that the message gets out to you and your networks, because this is a campaign really that is not about us. And when I say us, I mean the council and Marketing Sheffield. It's not about us at all. This has been devised and thought up and planned and put together in a way that the only way it's going to be a success is if you guys use it and think it's going to be a success as well. And if you don't and it falls flat, at least you can't say that we haven't tried. But we're really hoping that people see some value in it. And it's about really helping to create what I'd normally be doing is placemaking externally, so creating reputation stuff outside the city. But actually right now it has to start with inside the city. And I think that gives us an opportunity that from a branding point of view is ideal in a weird way, because you never want to try and create a brand that isn't based on something real in the city. And the brand that we've got for the city doesn't do that. But if you can find a situation whereby more and more people inside the city are singing from the same hymn sheet, it just makes it even stronger when you're going externally with it. So loosely speaking, I think the other difference, I'd like to think is a difference with what we've come up with, is that this isn't just an open for business campaign. Lots of cities and places around the world have done a sort of welcome back thing or an open for business thing, and without disrespecting them, because that's got its place. It's not me about. This isn't about me saying that we're better than them, but for us, or for me, I just didn't see that as a viable option. Really, it takes a lot of work to get something in place. It takes a lot of work to launch something like that and communicate it, and then at pretty much the minute that you've done the launch, it then becomes passive. It's sort of secondhand news. So we really wanted something that we could grow into over time. And the message that we kind of came up with is actually one that we'd started and I'd been planning since November around sort of the actual external investment, talent attraction, tourism message. But because of everything that happened, it felt really relevant for what was happening right now. So what we need to do first of all is get it out there and be being used by local business and in the press. Then it's about consumers kind of noticing that, picking up on it, and kind of using it as a way that they engage with society as a whole. And then it's about us. And when I say us in this context, it's more about the council and its partners, because we don't have the resources to do it all, but working at a regional and national level to communicate actually what this campaign is about and how it can help, and then moving it on to sort of grow into the talent and attraction and everything else. And if that happens, then we've actually got everything built up inside the city that will then make that external message even stronger. So the message that as I said, we've been working on since November was make yourself at home, really. And it's really quite simple. It builds on the Sheffield Makes work that some of you might have seen at a presentation I gave to the Chamber. I think it was November or no, God, it was even further back than that. It might have been August time. So building on the Sheffield Makes work that we've done. And it just felt like a really simple sort of Sheffield statement. It's something that, you know, lots of businesses and places say that people are welcome there, but this felt like, because of the friendly nature of Sheffield that you'll hear all sorts of people talk about, it felt really relevant. And there was a bit of pushback initially around, well, is it active enough? Is it a bit too passive? Does it help businesses enough right now? So we did a bit of work around that, really, to just start trying to think about, well, okay, let's take that challenge on board. And I think where we kind of came to is that actually in talking with colleagues in the council, in sort of public health and city centre, comms and other partners, actually it does feel right, because we don't want to be the city that's pushing businesses to open too soon, or making people feel uncomfortable about what they're doing, or putting employees at risk or anything. But we do want to be supporting those businesses as they open up. And we do want to be able to still tell people that, look, if you're still feeling vulnerable, if you're shielding, it doesn't mean you can't interact with the city. So that kind of make yourself at home message felt really inclusive and all encompassing. And I think that's really the trickiest bit is, the people I've been speaking to about this is it's easy for hospitality businesses, for example, to use this message. And I'll come on to that in a few minutes. What's not so easy is a family-run newsagents in Darnall, for sake of argument. How do we get it out there into that community? How does everyone feel like it's applicable to them? And that's still a challenge that I don't have an answer to, but hopefully working together we can find ways. So what I also did is take that make yourself at home sort of statement and think about, okay, well, if I was a hospitality business, if I was a sports sort of academy or institution, if I was a community group or faith group leader or something like that, how does it work? If I'm going to say make yourself at home with Voluntary Action Sheffield, make yourself at home at the Blades Academy, make yourself at home at Cutlery Works, how do you then sort of put messaging around that? And actually it's a lot of what people are kind of saying already. There's not really, when I read tweets or website press releases or anything like that, everything that people are talking about right now is about kind of trying to make people feel welcome back at their business, or it's about what they've done to help communities. It's about how they're changing the ways that they do work and interact with their customers or service users. And actually, so that make yourself at home message just becomes a bit of a catch-all kind of phrase that can be used whether or not people use the make yourself at home badge or any of the imagery or whatever. And it just helps us all kind of talk in a similar way that can help give reassurance to customers and consumers. And so put together this pack that some of the slides you're seeing are from the pack, which is to download from the website, which I'll talk about in a sec. Again, this page is just to demonstrate, I just sort of tried writing a few tweets from everything from what the chamber might say to what the universities might say, down to small independent businesses like Scandiborn, who are a couple of friends of mine that literally run it from their house, but are incredibly successful at what they do, or how Tickets for Good might talk about it, so in that kind of voluntary and not-for-profit sector. And it just felt like it works really across the board. And if this is something that can kind of play a large part within the business community of Sheffield, it's something that consumers start to recognise across the interactions they have with the businesses that they choose. And that then in turn becomes something that we as Marketing Sheffield can promote back to the city to help people see what else is out there. And that's why we've got this as the landing page for the campaign, and it's about giving people lots of different information that they might not have seen otherwise. So, someone might see Make Yourself at Home from hospitality business that's opening up this weekend, for example. But we want to be talking to people about, and we'll be posting today about, look, if you don't want to be going out to the pubs, that's fine. There's still loads of places you can get beer takeaways. You can order online, they can deliver to your house, and it's all from the local brewery. So you're still supporting your independent, but you're still staying safe at home or whatever. There's the toolkit on there, the page I've just gone through. So how people can get involved, how we want businesses to start using it. Snooker, they released a video of John McClure yesterday talking about how Sheffield's a really friendly place and the atmosphere here and why snooker's so important to Sheffield. And that's been branded up with the Make Yourself at Home stuff. There's how you visit the city centre safely. This is Sheffield's online sort of coronavirus directory for deliveries. And then some sort of thought piece articles around actually we're a city to make you think, Alexis talking about being stronger together. And all of this is going to develop over the coming kind of days and weeks and hopefully months. We've got some content stuff planned that will be getting on there. And it'll really be a kind of a mix of what people can do to engage in culture, because we know that cultural sector's been hit really hard. Some celebration stories of businesses that have been doing really well or have done really great things. City Grab, for example, you know, I'd love to get some content on there talking about actually how they've helped communities through actually raising money for charity at the same time as helping out residents, through to sort of, you know, people just writing further thought pieces around actually, well, what makes Sheffield special? Why do you feel at home here? What does that mean for the city? And anything else that we can think of in between. So that's kind of where we are at the minute. We've launched on Tuesday. We've had, in just those few days that we've launched, I looked yesterday morning at the figures, we've had about 3,000 people to the website alone in those days, and about 4,000 page visits purely on the Make Yourself at Home pages of the website. So that's, to be honest, given that we've just done it through social media, that's really impressive. And obviously Hallam FM and Radio Sheffield helped out by giving some coverage, as well as Unlimited, Chamber, SPA, and a few other organisations around the city. But we're sort of still going with a load of stuff. So working with the city centre team, there's going to be the banners that are going to denote sort of the outdoor spaces for cafes around the city. They're all going to have banners that are branded up Make Yourself at Home with the web URL and the social channels. Snooker, all the signage and a lot of the comms they're going to be doing is going to be using this messaging, which is really great. Some of you might know Matt Bigland, that owns the Milestone Group. He's independently from the Milestone Group launching a new app for the city, which we'd known about. I mean, Alexis, I remember having a meeting with him, must have been over a year ago now, where he was talking about this app that he's now pivoted to sort of make it relevant for the times, as you were. So he, as soon as he heard about this campaign through the venues and conferencing side of what we do, he asked if he could use it to help launch. So he'll be doing that. We're looking at getting some ERDF grant money to actually do some billboards, some city centre signage. I'd really love to get kind of like physical product packs of stickers and banners or whatever that we can send around to businesses. But the ERDF applications are a bit tricky, so we'll see what we get to with all that. All the venues and hospitality businesses around the city, and we've had great take up from a lot of them. A lot of them are asking, you know, can we put this up as a banner outside our hotel when it reopens and stuff? So that's really nice. We were talking just yesterday or the day before, time blurs at the minute, about takeover with Unlimited magazine for August. So Dan's excitedly planning a load of things to make that happen. And then we're also going to be working on kind of as and when it's right, domestic tourism campaigns, so working with Visit Britain, stuff like that. And then, you know, it's also, just it's worth mentioning, because we deal with a lot with sort of trade bodies within the kind of placemaking sector. And, you know, so this has gone to them and already been kind of recognised as an example of something that's, I guess, working with public health and public comms as well as placemaking in this sort of unique, challenging time. And so I've been asked to be on a panel discussion at a global conference, sort of talking about actually how do you create placemaking in times like this and do the right thing for citizens. So that's really good. So I guess the sort of takeaways for you guys really are these 5 things. Any way that you can help spread the word is hugely appreciated. I think we know it's because it's not just a very simple open for business, or like the national guidance has done the we're good to go symbols that some of you might have seen, that's the green tick in the roundel. You know, those things are really simple. It's there you go, put this on your Twitter account, off you go. We know this is a campaign that's got a few more layers than that, so we're not expecting people to see a tweet and get it. And I think what, you know, the people that I've managed to talk to have got that, okay, this isn't something that the council are just going to be doing and we share it. This is something that actually I can use that messaging, I can use that badge, and I can promote it to my customers. And I don't need to tag the council back into it. I don't need to make this about Marketing Sheffield getting any glory. This is something that I can see the benefit of for myself. And I think that's the key thing that we're trying to get across to you guys as business owners at the minute. So if you can, if you feel it's relevant, obviously if you don't, that's absolutely fine. This isn't a compulsory thing, but if you do, then please use the badge, voice your support, and try out using that messaging. See how it goes down. Does it work? Is there anything we can do to adapt it? How can we further support anybody? And then obviously, tell those stories and tag us in on social. And if anybody's got any ideas for guest content or feature writers, we're really keen to feature it, because from a resource point of view, this is basically me and a couple of people that are trying to make this happen within the council. So we are, we're pretty limited. We're trying to get some more resource. But that aside, I'd love it if the content that we're pushing is the content that you guys are producing, because that's the authenticity. That's what actually gets read and what people take note of. I don't want this to be something that Mark Mobbs is constantly doing updates on, because then it becomes sort of what one person sees, and it's only going to work if it's what a really diverse group of people see and what they see as beneficial to the city. So yeah, that's kind of a whistle-stop tour overview. Really keen to listen, have conversations, take questions, anything that people feel is relevant.
Thank you, Mark. Very much appreciated. Really interesting to just hear and think about where the initial idea came from and how it's evolved, and now how it manifests itself visually. And then just to kind of echo a point that I know you and I have talked about a lot, is that this can't be a top-down campaign or a campaign that's just led by one entity. So hopefully some of the things that you've said and shared with colleagues this morning have resonated, because this is a good opportunity, I think, for the business community to support each other as we start to kind of open up our economy and stimulate demand, and try as much as reasonably possible to get things moving again in our city centre and in our district centres. As I said at the start, really keen to kind of now for that to trigger a conversation, suggestions, questions, ideas. As Sam's just put on the chat, please do post any questions. I've got the chat up so I can see those. Equally, if you want to offer a contribution, then please do wave your hands or use the reaction buttons. I'm unapologetically quite challenging as a chair of these. In 15 seconds, I'm going to pick on somebody who I know. So that will just be kind of like a game of bingo. So, but hopefully somebody's going to beat me to it and has got a suggestion or something they want to make. Thanks for that, Rob. Good old. Right. Any contributions from others? It's Friday morning. You can't be passive. Come on now. Mark, just keeping it ticking along, because nobody can have silence for long. Where do we go to get where do businesses go to get the assets? If they want to take this away immediately and start to think about how they can apply it in their business, how do we get it?
So it's just welcome to sheffield.co.uk/make yourself at home. I tried this out. If you Google Sheffield Make Yourself at Home, it comes up top. So it should be quite easy to find. And that is the visuals of that landing page. On there, you can download sort of badged up imagery, which obviously has been used so far. You can download the Make Yourself at Home badge on its own, or locked up to the Sheffield logo, so you can easily chuck that on any of your own images, whatever you want to do with it. There's sort of that PDF that I've talked through with the example messaging and how, a bit of a guide to how to use the campaign. We're going to put an email signature up on there for people too, because some people have asked us about, can we use that? And we'll kind of add to that over time as we need to, but really it's about, it's all there to be downloaded and used. I guess I'm interested. I'm going to struggle to talk and read all the comments, but I'm from a few people that I know of faces on here. There's everything from kind of kitchens to taxi delivery stuff, independent publications. I guess I'm keen to know, how cross-sector this is. Digital and tech. Have we got kind of joiners and builders in here? I haven't yet had a chance to ask people directly from totally varied sectors how this could or could not be relevant to them and talking to their customers. So,
well, I'll tell you what. Well, let's try that. This could make me very unpopular, but I can see 28 people, 27 people across two screens. Not to put people on the spot, but at the moment, all I know, there's some people I know, as Marcus indicated, but there's just lots of names. So if we're just going to go around and just, for people just to introduce the business that they represent and to just offer any comments that they have about whether or not this is relevant, because as Marcus said, there is about refining and trying to figure out how this is used. So I'm going to start in my top left, which Dan, you're my top left, so from Unlimited, you've already been referenced in this presentation.
Okay, yeah, no, well, yeah, I had a cracking chat with Mark about it yesterday. We've got some big plans for the next issue of the magazine about it. So, I mean, one of the big things that we spoke about was, I suppose, how we engage the businesses that aren't normally engaged in it. So, I mean, we've got a bit of a couple of ideas around how we're going to sort of present the magazine next month. We're changing our distribution model a little bit to try and approach them. So I think the key for a lot of us is seeing who we can bring in from our own networks that might not traditionally work with, I suppose, the chamber and the business community that we all sort of know really rather well. I've already reached out to a couple of businesses that I know that are in sort of less typical industries to sort of try and get involved and sort of see what support they can have. Because, I mean, what I think we've got to remember is there's a lot of businesses that have had a really hard time, but they're not in the industries that we're all familiar with in the same way. And I think it's really interesting to try and get them involved and give them an outlet for it as well. So, I mean, that's part of what we're doing in the magazine next month, which is to give an opportunity for businesses that have struggled a chance to shout about themselves and to talk about what they're doing and how they want to move forward with everything. So I think that's the exciting part about it from us. They really can sort of help us bring the community closer and bring in a lot of new businesses to the supportive circle that I suppose we all know quite well.
Thanks, Dan. Katie, you're next. Katie.
Yeah.
Thompson. Hi.
Hi. I'm Virgin Money Yorkshire Bank. So, I mean, we've been open throughout all this, and I think the key things we've taken away from it is, first of all, it was making sure that the employees were actually safe, and that was a big challenge for us. So, the first few weeks, making sure we got all the PPE in place, and once we've got the employees feeling they were safe, it obviously then helped us with the customers. But I think the biggest challenge we've had with them is, how do we get them into the city with public transport? That's been a big thing for us. Obviously the free parking's been a massive help, because a lot of our team have driven in where normally they would have got on the bus or the train. With that going, we're trying to get back to the public transport, and that's a big challenge for us because we've got a lot that are still nervous. So I think that's something we really need to consider, that if we're going to get these people back in, customers back into the city centre, how they're going to feel safe to do it. And then when they get there, what's that customer journey look like? Because we've had people turning up and having to queue outside because we can only have so many people in. So what we don't want is people being put off coming into the city centre, because when they get there, they've got to queue outside because we can only have so many in. Are they going to be safe when we get there? So I think it'd be quite key for businesses to get people to understand, if they're coming into that city centre, how in each business are they going to be treated as well? Is it going to be a safe environment? And that's what we've had to really work on. And to be fair, we're getting busier and busier as they've got used to how it works. But it's been a challenge for us. But I think once we get businesses and customers understand when they get there what it's going to be like, it's a lot easier for us.
Yeah. That's why Richard Eyre was really keen on this when he first saw it, because there is that, they've done everything in the city centre to put signage around and hand sanitizing points and try and get information out there. But what's the softer angle of actually making people feel like, oh, okay, no, I do want to go back into the city centre. And that's why we're really hoping we can get some grant money to put some actual public out-of-home advertising out there to, you know, in the right way, encourage people, look, you can feel at home if you're back in the city centre. Things are going to be a bit different. Here's where you can go to get the information about it, but don't write it off, kind of thing. So yeah, if that's something that you feel is a really key message you'd like to get out there, then I'd suggest we have a chat probably with Richard Eyre and his team about how we can almost do some specifically targeted stuff or work on doing some assets with you that you can help put out there as well, that'll kind of give. I always think people are going to notice it more if their bank is sending them a message than if the city council's putting a message out there that they might not necessarily see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we spent the last few weeks actually phoning customers and saying, look, when you come in, this is the process, this is what you'll be expecting to see, you know, this is how it'll all work. And we've gradually seen it get busier and busier, but there was a lot of nervousness at first. And to be fair, I think a lot of, you know, what we're seeing outside, particularly on Fargate, and how they're managing people as they're coming has been fantastic. But as it does get busier, we don't want to be putting people off if there are big queues outside the shops and businesses, because that will turn people away. So we just need to make them aware before they get into there, which it'd be a massive bonus for us if we could do that.
Thank you for that, Katie. Just as a suggestion, well, actually, Sam, what we'll do is at Sheffield Chamber, we'll reach out to Richard Eyre. So for those people who don't know Richard, he's the head of city centre management at the City Council, and we'll see if we can get Richard on a call like this, just for him to update us on a lot of the logistical effort that's going on into reopening the city centre, and how we can, as Mark suggests, maybe start to tailor some of the messages. I've got Paul Gosney next, and then I've got a couple of questions that have come to me privately. So Paul, but over to you.
Hi, Paul.
You're on mute, Paul. No, you're not now.
Sorry, I thought you were going to let me come off mute there, Alexis. Mark, thanks for that. Great content. Really enjoyed it. Obviously, city taxis have been in the in Sheffield and in business 40 years, and we're very passionate about supporting Sheffield City region. We carry a lot of people. We have a lot of access to people, to businesses, and it's very important for us that we support something like this through our natural content, through the drivers, through a drivers portal, 2,000 drivers spreading the word. We've obviously taken measures throughout lockdown to try and follow the government guidelines, where we started installing screens within our taxis 4 weeks ago. 958 taxis worked last week. 752 of those had screens in. On booking, people can actually request a screen, so they, on the app, on the telephone. But I just wanted to, obviously, and thanks for the mention about CityGrab. CityGrab has been very humbling for me. It's kept businesses open. It's reopened businesses. It's provided services to the public of Sheffield, to businesses, and it'd be interesting to see how we could actually link that in. On that particular platform, we've reached 2.5 million people within the last 16 weeks. I've got a marketing team that will assist you, Mark, if that's required, with content we can produce. Well, we'll have a chat offline about that. But I just wanted to really offer my support and all the staff and drivers at City Taxis, their support to this, because I love Sheffield. It's my home, and I want to make it everyone else feel at home.
Thanks, Paul. That's amazing. Yeah, I'd love to work with you guys on how we can do that. I think specifically that it's really funny. How many times have you been in meetings or with friends where there's a story about what my taxi driver said to me? It is almost like one of those linchpin points of society. So to find a way that they could be kind of like spokespeople for what this can be for the city would be properly amazing.
And I'll say it on here, most of the taxi drivers are fantastic. You get one or two might be a bit grumpy, but they can act in many ways as an ambassador. And if we give them the tools as well, like our natural like receipt cards, something as basic as that. At the moment, people might not want to take them, but they can get a receipt to the phones as contactless as possible. We can send the message along with that. We can attract all our online and send the messages out through those channels as well.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Thanks, Paul. Should hasten to add that my waistline has expanded as a result of City Grab.
What's your favourite on there, Alexis?
We kind of mix it. So we have I'll talk to you about it separately. It's a big thing Friday evening. My daughter and I go, right, we're allowed to take away on Friday.
Well, just on that, we've got some new bags being delivered today, and on the back there's a competition. So you can spin whatever you like, whether it be a piece of wood or a bottle, and it chooses your next meal, what you're going to have.
I like this. You are. Smart stuff. Right, Mark, I've had a question on the chat just to me. Just how do you think how are we going to measure success of this? What does, appreciate we've just launched, but how do you think we can kind of build momentum in terms of measuring success? What does that look like, do you think?
Yeah, it's kind of a tricky one, because obviously the usual way you'd measure success of a campaign is the amount of clicks to a website or whatever it is. In this instance, for me, the only real measure of success is whether you and other business owners feel that it has helped in getting your business back on its feet, or helping customers feel like they can have the confidence to reenact with you. And then obviously moving further, how it works from a talent attraction point of view, which is a bit of a longer game. And that's not really that measurable through clicks. I guess, we're obviously looking at how many clicks we're getting and engagements in social and stuff like that. We can measure all of that. But I think really it's about, if businesses start using this, I'd love to have another kind of webinar type thing in 3 weeks, 4 weeks time, where people say, okay, right, we started using it. We found that people engage with this kind of stuff but not that kind of stuff. How can we develop things a bit more? Is there any, can we create any more assets for you? Can we develop the messaging in any ways, help out? It's getting that feedback that's going to be crucial, because again, this is not a campaign where we've got an idea, we've planned out to the nth degree who we're going to send it to, how it's going to work, what our responses are going to be, all that stuff. This is something that we're kind of releasing out into the wild, if you like. And the ways that it'll start to work will depend on how you use it and how your customers use it. And I'd say experimentation is the name of the game. I'm certainly not going to be getting in touch with anyone to say, oh, I think you've used the wording a little bit wrong there. It's not about that. It's about you feeling, how can you use it that's going to benefit you guys? And then tell me if there's anything else we can do as a result of it. So I know that's a politician's answer. I've dodged the question slightly, but hopefully it makes a bit of sense at least.
Just to me, hopefully it is to others. You've seen I've just put on the chat that I'm coming to Rich Davies next. I couldn't see if his pupils were going to dilate when he read that, but it's happening now, Rich. So just knowing a bit about your business is obviously not necessarily consumer facing, so just interested in your initial reaction and how you think this might work in a business-to-business environment.
Yeah, I think having seen Mark present before with the previous, I would like to say August Mark, whenever it was. I'm Sheffield born and bred. Absolutely love anything. I'll get behind anything like this. As a business, Affinity, we work nationally, but we absolutely brand ourselves Sheffield all over. We absolutely let that. Front of our website is a picture of Sheffield, so people are in no two ways in any doubt of where we're from and what our heartland is. And that's definitely Sheffield, without a doubt. Our core audience, like I say, is a Sheffield City region, but we do it nationally. So, but we're letting people know we're from Sheffield. There's no two ways about that. We're definitely a city full of independents. And I love that about Sheffield. I love independence. I go for a meal, I go to an independent. I don't go to a chain restaurant as a rule. It'd have to take some really exceptional circumstances, I'll be honest. So for businesses, I think we just don't need to get behind this, you know, and shout about it, even if it's just a social post or, you know, and I'm happy to put this on our email newsletter next week. I'll put it on social, I'll put an article on our website, all that kind of stuff, just to get behind this and get people talking about it. But if everybody on this call could put one social post out, and it just creates that you know that funnel of getting to people to know about it and businesses to know about it. But I think it's important that the people, not just the businesses, but also the citizens of Sheffield know about this campaign. And that's, I suppose, it's a little bit of a harder job than anything for Mark. But you know, for a business, I think it's a no-brainer. If you're in Sheffield, shout about you're from Sheffield. Simple.
Thanks.
Thanks, Rich. We are all in it together. This is our this is our place of home.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Dan. Take care. Just a couple of people said to me just in the chat. One of the big things about opening a city is around transport. So separately to this, I think there's an opportunity to think about how we use this on our public transport systems. Not least, that's probably one of the main areas where people are feeling quite anxious and not quite sure how they get around. Let's see. Nobody's waving their hand in the air. Who should I? Darren, you very kindly offered. So the agency you represent kindly offered some support to Paul. So hopefully you guys can be in touch after that.
Hi everyone, just by way of introduction, I'm Darren Clues. I'm the sales director for an agency. Full disclosure, the agency is based in Hull, but Sheffield's my home. I've lived here, moved up with my partner a while ago now, and I'm very, very passionate about Sheffield. In any way that I personally can help anyone in terms of kind of advice on media or any insight required, because obviously as an agency we get access to all of the media, all of the insights from all of the different media suppliers around the country. So any insight required in terms of where you might be best off directing any forms of advertising or messaging, more than happy to help. Reach out to me on LinkedIn and I'll do what I can, basically.
Thank you, Darren.
No,
it's really good of you. I think for those people who don't know me, just a little bit of a kind of point. If we're going to kind of make our city stronger and more resilient, if we're going to help kind of address some of the inequalities that we know that are in our city, it's going to be the business community working together that's going to do that. The council's got a hugely important role, and I'm personally very grateful to people like Mark Mobbs who stay up late into the night formulating these ideas way beyond their day job. But it's really, just as Paul said, he's been really humbled by what City Grab's been about. I've been really humbled over the last couple of months to just see how the businesses are coming together and recognizing that it's been some really, really challenging times, and it's still going to be really challenging for a lot of businesses, but kind of binding together and stitching together the business community hopefully can see us through this in as good state as possible. So just even this morning, just to hear people offering to help and insights and suggestions, really empowering. So thank you for that. Natalie, you talked just on chat a minute ago, completely agree about the importance of being able to get a pork sandwich at the click of a button.
Yeah, all your favourites.
Just from your perspective in terms of the business that you're involved in, does this work for you? Can you see how it might be applied? Is it?
Well, I live in Sheffield. We're Sheffield and Doncaster based, although obviously all working from home at the moment. Anything I can do to shout about Sheffield, I'm all for it. So I'm really here to listen and to learn about any ways that we can try and help promote the city. I'm from Proactive, by the way, anybody who isn't aware. So we're commercial insurance brokers and risk managers, health and safety management, HR consultancy. So yeah, I just really love to tell everybody how great the city is. I'm quite sad I'll tell everybody how amazing the bus service is. I think there's somebody in the room actually at the moment from South Yorkshire Transport. So yeah, just here for ideas if I'm honest, and if I can support any of you in any way, just let me know. I'm always big on the whole social media aspect as well. So you'll see tweets from Proactive people. It's myself sending those out. So yeah, I'll be on the social media after this, definitely.
The Proactive sit-on, for those people who don't know, Proactive are really centrally involved in Sheffield Chamber. I've never known a company be so true to its word in saying we are proactive.
Oh, thank you.
Genuinely.
Yeah.
Really great to have you involved, really.
Thank
Thoughts
you.
from others? I'm not going to, I won't carry on just going line by line. Natalie's identified, and I think Richard has now declared himself by waving that Richard Pilgrims from Travel South Yorkshire. I don't know.
I was just going to say around. Sorry. No.
Yeah, just if you want one, definitely. I was thinking, oh, is it going to turn up colder? But no, it was fine. It was absolutely gorgeous. It did make me buy a few more things than what I would probably, if I walked into the shop, I wouldn't go and get a piece of tiffin for afterwards or whatever. But yeah, really good service.
No, I was just going to say around transport, and it's a fair point because it's a real challenge in some ways. Some of the let's say promotional work that's been done nationally and locally has maybe been too good because people obviously are avoiding public transport. Obviously, a lot of people that typically work in offices and things aren't back in work, so we're not travelling as much. But there is the huge capacity issues around public transport. We're going to carry sort of 15 to 20% of passengers at this time. Then you've got the sort of concerns around wearing a face mask and that kind of thing. And actually, the response there's been a lot of comments, and particularly around face masks, but actually a number of incidents have been quite low. And I think within this, I actually work on the sort of cycling and walking side, so I'm really pleased that from a transport side, Mark's kind of pushing that as we know it's not for everybody, but if you are doing this travelling, if it's a local trip, can you do it by cycling and walking? Can you leave public transport to other people? And almost the car being the sort of the last thing to do, which is a fair point as well. We should try and encourage people to, because I would encourage people to use the car less and less. If that's using the taxi, then that's not a bad thing either.
I agree, Richard.
Yeah, so just trying to keep those individual trips down. From a staff perspective, really good point by Katie as well, because from my side, the team I'm involved in is all about trying to help staff it was all about trying to change their travel from car to public transport, walking and cycling. Obviously, we have to do that slightly differently now. So what we're looking at is trying to help where staff have got to get by public transport and help them to journey plan that sort of thing. So, and that's something we started actively sort of re-engaging with businesses from this week to sort of work out how people are starting to get back to work. And obviously, we're all in the same boat in this because we do get guidance, let's say, fairly late, and we try and adapt as quickly as we can. Transport is no different in that. So for me, it's how we try and work that together. From a Travel South Yorkshire perspective, I'm pretty sure we can, we'll include this kind of thing in, e-newsletters and bits on websites and that kind of thing, because it fits with the whole recovery, and transport is a key part of that, getting people in and out safely. I mean, obviously our concern from a sort of bus tram train perspective is this weekend, as people may have had a couple of drinks, they might forget to put their masks on, and that might lead to some conversations. But hopefully, people generally will be safe and smart about it.
Thanks, Richard. Of all the things that we have to kind of grapple with, is transport is perhaps one of the more complex ones, both from a kind of managing the infrastructure to also trying to making sure passengers feel safe and secure psychologically. I don't envy the job of unlocking our transport system in a safe way. I'm conscious of time. I'm not going to artificially run us right up to 10 a.m. Unless anybody's got something really pressing they want to contribute, then what I'll try and do is bring this to a bit of a close. But by all means, keep putting things in chat if you got any last minute thoughts. What we're going to do at Sheffield Chamber is we're very conscious of GDPR, so we're not going to circulate lots of details. But what we'll do is we'll work with Mark just to pull together some, notwithstanding you can still Google things, but just a little follow-up email for those who have registered with some details around the links, the resources, some of the calls to action, so you've got that in your inboxes. I hope Mark won't mind me saying this. He's incredibly approachable and hugely into collaboration. So I'm sure he won't mind if you get back in touch. And I'll talk to him separately about maybe inputting his email at the bottom of the notes, so if you want to get in touch with him afterwards, because I will keep saying this from a very limited position of influence chairing this session, is this is all about us. This is all about us working together in individual businesses, whether or not we represent a national business, thanks Mark, a national business, a global business, or a local business. It's about the business community working together with colleagues in the local authority in Travel South Yorkshire, etc. Because there's nobody coming over the hill to sort this out for us. It's us, which is why I've been really pleased to kind of host this session this morning, just to try and draw together a whole range of businesses from different backgrounds who could perhaps use this campaign to help open up safely and to help kind of stimulate demand in what they do. So Mark's already very kindly put his email address on the chat. So that's mark.mobbs@sheffield.gov.uk. As I said, he's hugely responsive. So hopefully this session this morning can stimulate kind of some offline conversations and things that we could do just to keep this campaign going, because that's the point. There's two scenarios now. There's the scenario where we kind of figure out how we keep this going, build momentum, how it gets applied in different businesses, we learn from it, we can see some initial success, and we keep building and we keep building. Or, then it's quite, it is possible it falls flat on its face. And if that's the case, it'll be down to us. Because we won't be using this and working with the council to kind of adapt it and to shape it. So its success is in our hands. So with that in mind, I don't think there's anything else, unless anybody's got anything pressing. Can't see it. You're all very passive. Long week. But no, last but not least, thank you very much to Sam and EJ and Tom Sutton from the Chamber team, who once again have made all of the logistics work. A lot of effort goes in behind the scenes to the events that we put on, and members of the Chamber Board are always grateful to the Chamber team for making these things work. I hope you found this session this morning interesting, dare I say. I hope you found it a little bit inspiring, and that we've kind of triggered some conversations that we can now have as we roll this campaign out and we unlock our city confidently but also safely, and that we use this as an opportunity to say that Sheffield is a place to make yourself at home, both if you live in the city or if you're from outside of the city, and hopefully that can make us stand out in the weeks and months ahead. I have no idea how to shut down a webinar because I've not done it yet. So Sam, it's going to be over to you now, mate, just to say if we just let everybody leave or we just shut them all down. I have no idea. But thanks ever so much for listening, everyone.
Thanks, Alexis.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thanks, Mark.
See you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Mark.
See you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Alexis. Thanks, Mark.
See ya.
Take care, everyone.
Take care. Bye.
See you, everyone.